OAN had an insane segment. They're still talking about how the election was stolen from Donald Trump, as is the way. And the anchor here, do we know this guy's name? Nope. Well, regardless, I think the clip speaks for itself. He essentially, at the end of it, calls for something horrific to happen to everybody who understands that the election was not stolen on behalf of Joe Biden.
Which raises even more questions about exactly how many people were involved in these efforts to undermine the election. Hundreds? Thousands? Tens of thousands? How many people does it take to carry out a coup against the presidency? And when all the dust settles from the audit in Arizona and the potential audits in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Wisconsin, what happens to all these people who were responsible for overthrowing the election? What are the consequences for traitors who meddled with our sacred democratic process and tried to steal power by taking away the voices of the American people? What happens to them? Well, in the past, America had a very good solution for dealing with such traitors: execution.
Oh my God. Well, I like how he delivered that line there.
Yeah, he just said, execute everybody who does not believe that the ghost of Hugo Chavez, Ghost in the Machine, went in, twiddled with things, made sure that Donald Trump lost, and either keep harping on this Arizona audit, which is a completely performative process for GOP electoral purposes. I mean, the idea that is allowed on television, the calling of executions of people who just respected the democratic process. I mean, you can't ignore this stuff because this is what people legitimately believe. And a poll came out the other day that said a third of Americans think voter fraud contributed to Joe Biden's victory. So this kind of stuff is penetrating, and it's just the Fox News model. You repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it. Critical race theory, critical race theory, critical race theories. Now they're talking about it in Congress. Now they're talking about it with Mark Milley, whatever the case may be. Like, this is just, I have nothing more to say. It's nuts.
By the way, the host there is Pearson Sharp. Just wanted to put that out there. Pearson.
That is not a real name. Pearson. That's a porn name. Pearson Sharp. Come on.
Did you know that? Did you know who he was? Do you know?
Oh no, I looked it up and I think I came across it before, so I was able to just go in my history and
my favorite
I should
part,
remember a name like Pearson Sharp, but I didn't. So I just went to my browser history and found
of that clip was how they had the My Pillow code at the bottom, where it's like, while we're calling for executions of voters, you can, put in execute the traitors at My Pillow and get like 40% off your, pillow at checkout. And so it really speaks to it's just a grift. I think that the fact that we've gotten to the point where grifting now calls for the explicit execution of people who vote the wrong way on, I guess, what is considered to be mainstream television by some people is frightening, but we've been going in that direction for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, and what's crazy too is if you replay it or if you listen to what he's saying, he's talking about how it was a coup, how these people are traitors. I mean, is there some sort of irony alarm that can go off behind his head? I mean, like, hello, dude, hello.
I feel like it's ironic that when Matthews called for the execution of capitalists in Central Park on MSNBC, they took him off air. And now, you're calling for execution of Democratic voters. That's just allowed. Well, it's double standard.
Matthews wasn't even, he was saying that that's what Bernie Sanders wanted, right? But now I guess you get a cable spot on OAN if you're saying that we should do that en masse to people who voted for Joe Biden. I mean, it's not even necessarily clear who he's calling for there.
Matthews couched it as his, fear of being executed for a fascist, but I could tell in the manic glee in his eye, he was actually wistful for the idea. I felt a kinship with him there, and that's why I'm still lamenting him being kicked off for just sharing his ideas.
You know, it's pretty incredible to me how OAN is propped up by basically just a few cable companies. I mean, literally, that's where all their funding comes from. They don't have the advertisers Fox has. They don't have, you know, their fingers in many different pots, you know, their hands and you know, they're making money on this end and that end. No, they just have OAN. They, you know, they're basically, and they don't have, you know, they all they have basically are companies like AT&T and Comcast paying them carrier fees, which means if you subscribe to those cable companies, every time you pay them your cable bill, they give a few bucks from that fee from you to OAN. And that's really where OAN gets all their money. That's it. They don't have what Fox News has, where they have very many income streams. It's just unbelievable how, like, you know, this hasn't been really focused on at all, really. I mean, I know people have covered this, but you know, there were all those big, you know, Flush Rush and all those other movements back in over the years. But there's been nothing where like OAN doesn't even have the ability to like really fight that if people just focused on what's propping this organization up.
I'm surprised. They seem like the kind of place where you watch like 5 minutes and they start talking about buying gold. They just give off that like buy gold, buy silver vibe.
Right. But I don't know if it's just that they don't have that many viewers to be asking for that much money from those companies. Like they are able to just get this ridiculous sum from these cable companies for every subscriber. Like, it's just like you're not subscribing to OAN and they're getting a percentage of that split with Comcast. I mean, literally everyone who subscribes to cable via these companies, even if you don't watch OAN, a couple of dollars from your monthly cable bill goes to OAN. So like they don't have the support that's propping them up. They have this stupid cable scheme. I mean, that's why the cable bills always rise, because each company negotiates with the cable company and says, hey, for every subscriber you have, every single cable box that our channel is just available on, not that you watch it, just available on, we want this amount of money. And they negotiate that fee, obviously, but it's a fee that's going to OAN whether you watch them or not, if you subscribe to the companies that carry them.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like I scroll past it. I have Verizon cable, but I pay too much money because I got to watch sports, guys. I apologize. But I mean, that's something that, yeah, I think you make a good point, Bender. People are paying whatever money to their telecommunications companies to fund this kind of garbage, even if it's indirectly. And you know, that's something that could be a sort of movement. I don't want my dollars going towards that.
Right. I mean, listen, I totally, for the free speech warriors out there, I totally get that companies should be able, OAN has the right to exist, obviously. Fox News does. But what I'm saying is OAN is propped up by people who aren't even watching it.
I don't think they have the right to exist. I disagree with that. I think that in other countries, they would not be allowed to exist the way that they do. I think that Fox News and OAN and a lot of the content that we have is actually incredibly radical to have on air. And we never really address it because of the existence of free speech warriors. But like, you know, there are tweets and people who are banned from tweeting in Germany, who are banned from tweeting in like France because of their free speech laws, because of their, you know, not anti-hate crime laws. And to pretend that America is more free than Germany or France or any of those countries is a joke. That's a joke. People die in the streets here from not having enough money for food. That's a joke.
Right. I want to amend that. I don't think they're free to have like a platform and cable. Like I'm saying, you know, if they want to pay for their own servers and put stuff up there and talk, I mean, then you know, I agree with you too. But I mean, at the same time, you know, if people's money doesn't want to go to funding that, then people should do something about it. To be quite frank,
I agree. I mean, I think that's a great idea.